Upcoming freezing temperatures could have an impact on this US crop. Let's check it out. A meaningful freeze risk is showing up in the eastern US soft red winter wheat belt over the next 2 weeks. When you reduce the forecast down to a single coldest morning expected at each location for parts of Indiana, Ohio, and southern Michigan, they're dropping into the low 20s. That's cold enough in early April to raise a real concern for this crop. In this video, I'm going to walk through what this lowest minimum temperature map is actually showing, the larger US pattern behind it, and then narrow in on the soft red winter wheat growing area in Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana. I'll use the crop alert graphic, which shows this freeze threat is intensifying, with roughly 37% of this monitored area projected to fall below 24 degrees during the risk window beginning April 7th. Let's explain the metric. The easiest way to think about this metric is a simple example. So if a location is forecast to have overnight lows of 39, 34, 30, 27, and 24 over the next kind of several days, the value on this map would be 24. It's picking the lowest of all of those minimum temperatures and plotting that number. That matters because agriculture often responds to extremes, not always averages. If your average over that 2-week period is 35, that's manageable. It's not going to damage the crop. But if one of those mornings is especially cold, 23 degrees or something, that can be a very different situation for the crop that's kind of, in this case, wheat, which has already broken dormancy and is actively developing. This metric is useful in April because seasonality works against you. By this point, the wheat is no longer sitting in this kind of deep winter dormancy that we would expect in January when we're seeing these very cold temperatures regularly. It's advancing through spring growth stages, so its tolerance to cold is changing. A temperature that might have been less concerning kind of earlier in the winter, January, December, etc., can be far more damaging once the plant is actively growing. At a national scale, the pattern is fairly clear. The deepest cold risk during the 2 weeks period is kind of concentrated on the northern tier, parts of the Midwest and Great Lakes, while the southern US is much drier, much milder. You can see a kind of a strong north to south gradient on this broader lower 48 map. The Midwest and areas north, near the northern plains, show some of the lowest values, with much of that region dropping into the teens and 20s. From there, the cool pocket extends southeastwards towards the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley area. By contrast, deep south, kind of Gulf Coast, Florida, remain much warmer as expected and generally obviously well above that freezing territory. So we're not seeing any sort of uniform coast-to-coast cold event. This is more a targeted pattern where kind of the central and eastern interior of the country, especially around the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley area, are remaining kind of vulnerable to a cold intrusion. This is why kind of soft red winter wheat belt kind of stands out to me here and why I wanted to look at today, because it's sitting close enough to cold air to be exposed, but kind of late enough in the start of the growing season that the crop development really becomes part of the story. Now, focusing on the soft red winter wheat growing area across Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana. The map kind of clearly shows kind of a north-south temperature gradient within the production belt itself. The coldest part of the region is in Michigan, where lowest minimum temperatures are projected down roughly into the upper teens, low 20s. And as you move south into northern Indiana, northern Ohio, the map kind of shows some widespread low to mid 20s, which keeps a meaningful freeze risk in place across a large part of this core wheat growing area. Farther south, across central and southern Indiana, Ohio, temperatures moderate somewhat, generally in the mid to upper 20s, with some low pockets, in closer to the low 30s. Still chilly for April, but it's not the same level of concern as the kind of colder northern zones. So the map is basically showing that the highest freeze risk exposure is concentrated in the northern half of this soft red winter wheat growing region, especially Michigan and the adjacent areas, while the southern half is cooler than normal but kind of less severely cold. The important point is that This is not just a kind of a tiny isolated pocket where, maybe the kind of a couple fields are affected. This is sort of a broad section of the SRW belt. It could sit in temperature ranges that are, relevant to crop sensitivity. And we could see some implications regarding these freezing temperatures and sub 24 Fahrenheit related issues. So let's have some context and kind of implications. And I'm going to show an alert dial here that comes from our weather alerts dashboard. It's showing that 37% of our monitored soft red winter wheat area here is forecast to fall below 24 degrees at some point within the forecast here. 37% of that area is moderately large. And it's not just, as I said before, it's not just one tiny area within the growing area that's scheduled to be affected. For soft red winter wheat, temperatures under 24 degrees can be harmful once the crop has moved into active spring development, especially around kind of jointing and later stages. At that point, the growing point and development head have become more vulnerable. A hard freeze can kind of injure the plant tissue, reduce the head viability, and ultimately kind of lower yield potential, which is why I'm recording this video. These freezing temperatures could have an issue on yield potential. Kind of the key issue is not that it's getting cold or the plant is cold, it's that the crop is kind of less protected now than it would be or it was when it was fully dormant within the winter and we were seeing very cold temperatures. Soft red winter wheat kind of matters beyond the field level. It's a major US wheat class grown across kind of eastern Midwest, mid-South, and it's used for a lot of stuff. You may not know this. It's used in the production of crackers, cookies, cakes, pastries, and kind of other milled flour uses. So when kind of a large area of a monitored core growing area is exposed to potential harmful sub 24 degree temperatures, it's kind of going to have a meaningful impact for this agricultural subsector. The main takeaway from this forecast is that a broad kind of US pattern supports a noticeable cold risk in the eastern soft red winter wheat belt. Kind of the highest concern is concentrated in the early part of the next 2 weeks, and we'll just have to wait to see how extensive those sub 24, those hard freeze areas are impactful for the crop. If you like these videos and you want to see more, please like and subscribe to the Weather Mapping YouTube channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Laters.
Weathermapping.com